carb thing. It's been great.
Right,
I used to wait 5 minutes. Oh my God!
Hey man, stop telling right now. Bust you
Elevators.
Hey!
Can I get your autograph? Do you know Novina?
Do you know Novina?
She's-
If you want to know the truth, ask
Oh my God.
Novi.
You know my song?
Yeah, you
Are you kidding me?
Ask me.
Is it singing on here? Ask me.
Ask me.
But you
Ask
guys,
me.
you guys are the elevators.
That's
Well,
correct.
you know.
And you know my song?
Well,
And you know our name?
Someone
Oh
just.
my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
No one knows me at all. No one knows me.
I'll take that. You can just
Can you
stay here.
please leave? Abraham.
I'll see you guys later.
Wait,
They're gonna
vayas,
do it.
pues.
There you go.
Soundwaves, KPFK, the soundtrack of the World Wide Web. I'm your host,
Oh.
Abraham Beltran. I got the elevators in studio. What do you think about that? How you guys doing?
Beautiful.
Gracious. Hey, do I look great in this light? Or we need to turn some lights on or something? We good? Okay, cool.
It's looking
Sure.
good. So guys, let's take it back to the beginning. When we were on air, we kind of covered, your origins at UCLA and kind of how you guys came about to form the funk soul powerhouse that you are now. But let's kind of cover your earliest influences. Who were you guys listening to in your formative years, like teenage years?
Oh, embarrassing. Well, I tried to listen to a lot of everything, and the problem with me was, I wasn't cool based on the music that I was listening to, so I'd have to turn that off immediately whenever my boys would show up. But I mean, anything from like CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival. I don't know why I like that stuff.
Yeah.
To like what's funny is the old soulful white guys I was into. Michael McDonald,
Oh.
Hall & Oates.
Let me shake
like,
your hand.
You know
Oh,
what I mean?
man,
And
I
I
can't-
had my share of brothers, you know what I'm saying? But it's
Right.
like for some reason, like, when somebody goes, baby, come back, and I'm like, hey man, that's cool stuff, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I was really influenced by that kind of music, you know what I mean? And of course hip hop, but I would listen to like, Hammer, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like, third base I used to like a lot, but didn't really grow up listening to too much NWA. I wasn't allowed to. So that's why, minus the thug mentality here. By the way, I'm a Laker fan. This jersey it's in the wash.
But man,
Well, I have older siblings. I'm the youngest of 6 kids. So my brothers and sisters bestowed upon me a love of Prince, for sure, and then also Bob Marley. My brother always had his Bob Marley tapes going on in the house, and then eventually when CDs came around, I took his tapes because he didn't need those anymore. And I have about a dozen mixtapes of Bob Marley sessions here or there. And before Bob, no need to even take it to that place. The bottom line is he is the quintessence of an artist activist, somebody who is, has an effect on his community directly, and now, of course, across the globe by, what he puts into his music, and that's something that I strive for.
I was raised in the Bay Area, and when I was a kid, I listened to nothing but classic rock. Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, Beatles, and I listened to KBIG 98.1, which was the classic rock channel in the Bay Area. And then one morning I woke up, it was my sophomore year of high school, and it was KISS 98.1, and all, like Led Zeppelin had switched to Earth, Wind, and Fire, and all the classic rock had switched into soul and
Beatles
old
was the
school.
Meters, huh?
Beatles was the Meters, and Marvin Gaye and Barry White and Teddy Pendergrass and all that stuff, and I just didn't change the dial, and I haven't since. So that's me.
Well, I came to the States when I was 4, and for some reason Michael Jackson, understandable, but Michael Jackson was life to me. I used to do Michael Jackson impersonations, I used to dress up like Michael, and then it was George Michael. I was obsessed with George, and then it was In Excess. I was obsessed with those guys. But then I went through my heavy metal phase, Megadeth, Metallica, but when I was about 13, I got Doggy Style. Snoop Dogg. So I went, but it was for me like the ones that as looking back now that had the impact was Stevie Wonder, of course, and then just good hip hop like Master Ace, you were playing, Mos Def, and D'Angelo. Like that's the stuff that I listen to on a regular basis over and over again.
And kind of bringing it full circle. Oftentimes I get into the conversation with folks, especially music heads, and really the consensus seems to be that there's not artists kind of putting the level of musicianship into what they're doing nowadays as much as there was back then. You know, you kind of have like the Motown, and everyone, it seemed like everyone was next door making just classics and hits, and now that kind of seems to be more of a rarity. But I think, and I don't know what your guys' take is on this, but you guys kind of seem to fit that mold in terms of just being whole heart and soul into the music that you make. And how do you go about kind of getting that out into the world now that there aren't really labels that go out of their way to blast and show love to guys like you? I mean,
Well, that's a good question.
That's a good question.
We actually have a really hard time with it, but I think what keeps us going is the love of it. You know, it's right. You know, back in the day there was artist development, and now they don't do that. And that's the system that created the Beatles, that created, you know, the Stevie Wonders. And the question is either the record labels are just going to get wise to it one day, that there's a whole bunch of artists out there who have something to say, and they'll change their model, or they're just going to keep on making really bad music.
Everything, exactly. Everything comes full circle. It's like anything, you know, like with television. I mean, there's a lot of reality shows that are on right now. Everything's fast paced, you know what I mean? Because nobody has an attention span anymore. So it's like they want to put out that poppy stuff quick and put it out. Okay, what can we market this? How can we be marketing and make money off of it? And I think after a while, like there's a lot of musicians that are starting to come out. Like people are like real producers that are starting to develop, real hip hop artists. Real musicians that are really starting to show up, I believe, now, and really starting to appreciate the craft. And I think that that's the school of thought that I think we're from. And there's a lot of groups out there that have been doing it for a long time, like the Roots, you know what I'm saying? And just for them to be popular and then like kind of like feel like they disappeared, which I know they hadn't at all, but then they just to come back up again, like it's just, you know, they've been through it. Like every 10 or 15 years, history always repeats itself.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm seeing kids out with flat tops and stuff now and bright colors, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it's on its way back. Hip hop's on its way back to be having fun again. You know, I think it should lose its buffoonery, you know what I'm saying? But it's the difference between having fun and looking like an idiot, you know what I'm saying? And so I think that music itself is starting to find its roots again.